right. So let's dive into something that I'm sure a lot of you are thinking about.
Yeah.
Especially with everything going on and how a potential, future Trump presidency could really kind of change the whole landscape of becoming a U.S. citizen.
Right.
And we're looking at this through the lens of a really interesting YouTube video that we found that kind of analyzes, some of his past policies and the stuff he said. And honestly, some of the predictions are pretty eye-opening.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that we're not just like, speculating here.
Right.
We're looking at actual shifts that could happen.
Right.
Based on what we saw before, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes this deep dive really valuable.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, this isn't just like what if.
Yeah.
This is like, okay, based on what we know, these are things we need to prepare for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're on the path to citizenship, like this is stuff you gotta know so you can make the best decisions, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Informed decisions.
Yeah, and one of the things that they hit on is a more challenging citizenship test.
Right.
Which is a familiar theme.
Right, we saw that.
Yeah, he tried to revise the exam during his previous term.
Yeah.
And it seems like, if he gets back in office, that might be one of his top priorities again.
Yeah, and well, the interesting thing is last time, it was a lot more about just like making the questions more difficult.
Yeah.
Right? Like just more complex, like a higher level of difficulty.
Right, just harder.
But the video is suggesting that this time around, it might be less about rote memorization.
Oh, interesting.
And more about demonstrating a deeper understanding of U.S. civic values, nation's history.
Oh, wow.
And structure.
So it's not just knowing dates and names.
No.
It's about really understanding, like,
It's about critical thinking. Yeah. It's about, like, really grasping those, like, underlying principles.
So for anyone studying for the citizenship test right now.
Yeah.
That means
you got to step up your game.
You got to step it up, yeah.
Yeah.
You really got to.
But beyond the surface.
Yeah.
Don't just memorize facts,
Right.
Really engage with the material.
Yeah.
Think about the why behind those historical events,
Yeah.
Like, how did they shape the nation's values?
Okay, so tougher test.
Right.
What about the actual time it takes to become a citizen?
Yeah.
The video also mentions that processing times could get a lot longer.
Oh, yeah, make a lot longer.
Like right now, the average is like 4 to 6 months, right?
Okay.
Which is already kind of a long time for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a while.
But during his first term, there was a huge backlog. And people had to wait way longer.
Oh, wow.
And the video is predicting this could happen again.
Really?
Yeah.
So that could create a ton of uncertainty and frustration, too, for applicants.
Yeah.
Imagine just, like, having all your life plans just
on hold.
Put on hold because of these delays.
Exactly, yeah.
It makes you wonder, like, what's really behind these slowdowns?
Right.
Is it just, like, logistical issues? Or is it something more deliberate?
Yeah.
Like trying to limit how many new citizens are coming in?
That's the question.
Yeah, I mean,
it's really important to connect these potential delays to the bigger picture of all the immigration policies. It makes you think about the motivations, right?
Yeah.
Like why?
Yeah.
And what does it mean for the whole system?
Okay, now this is where it gets a little concerning for me.
Uh-oh.
The video is saying that there could be like way more focus on this good moral character requirement, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Which is already a standard thing.
Right.
But they're saying that it might be interpreted in some pretty surprising ways.
Yeah. I mean, right now, you have to show good conduct for like 5 years.
Okay.
Right? Or 3 if you're married to a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
And that usually means, like, no criminal record.
Okay.
Up to date with child support payments.
Right.
No outstanding taxes. Like, those are kind of the biggies.
Okay.
But the video suggests that it might become much more subjective.
Okay, so
like what counts as good moral character might get a lot murkier.
And they had this one example that I found kind of startling. They said that even failing to submit change of address forms could be used against you, like as evidence of bad moral character.
Interesting.
Like, I mean, I've forgotten to update my address plenty of times.
Yeah, me too.
So it just shows how much pressure
applicants are going to be under to make sure every single little thing is absolutely perfect.
Yeah, and I mean, that's quite a departure from what we see now. Like, now it's mostly about serious offenses.
Right.
But this is, like, really changing the game about how they assess good moral character.
Yeah, it's less about a checklist and more about, like, someone's interpretation.
Yeah, it's way more subjective.
Right, and that creates a lot of uncertainty.
Right, absolutely, yeah.
Like, what's a red flag?
Yeah, right. What's okay and what's not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's really unclear.
So if someone's listening to this, right, and maybe they have a more complex situation or they're not sure if they would even be eligible, what does the video recommend they do?
Well, they really emphasize getting legal help.
Okay.
Like talking to an immigration lawyer, someone who can help you navigate all the complexities and understand the risks.
Yeah.
And, you know, make sure you're putting your best foot forward.
Makes sense.
Right.
Better safe than sorry.
Exactly.
Especially with something this important.
Yeah.
What about for people who, like, don't need a lawyer, but still want to understand their immigration history? I know there's a way to get those records right.
Yeah, you're thinking of FOIA request.
Yeah, FOIA.
Yeah, Freedom of Information Act.
Right.
So that lets you officially request your records from the government.
Okay.
So it's a great way to get a clear picture of, you know, where you stand.
Okay.
And see if there are any potential issues that could come up during the naturalization process.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be better to discover any red flags yourself than to have them spring it on you later.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
rip the Band-Aid off yourself rather than someone else doing it.
Right. Yeah. So we've covered quite a bit.
We have.
But there's still more to explore.
There is.
In the next part of our deep dive, we'll go even deeper into the potential consequences of these policy shifts and what they could mean for you on your journey to becoming a citizen.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. You know, it's so easy to get caught up in all the specifics, but it's also important to, like, step back and think about the big picture.
Yeah.
What does it say about us as a society when it gets harder to become a citizen?
That's a great point.
You know?
And the video doesn't really dive into this, but it kind of got us thinking, like, what does good moral character really mean in America today?
Right. Is it just about following all the rules?
Right.
Or is it
something more?
Yeah.
Is it more subjective?
Yeah, and how do we balance that with being fair?
Exactly.
And giving people opportunities.
Right, because that's always been a part of, you know.
Yeah, what America's all about.
Yeah, the American dream.
Yeah. Right. It's tricky.
It is tricky.
It brings up a lot of questions, like who decides what's good enough?
Yeah.
And how does that affect people who are just trying to build a life here?
Okay, so we talked about good moral character. But the video also mentions a couple of other things where they might, like, really increase the scrutiny on applications.
Yeah, one of them is social media.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which, you know, they've been looking at that for a while.
Yeah.
But the video suggests that under a future Trump administration, it could become even more common.
Wow. So even what you post online could come back to bite you.
Yeah, they're going to be looking for anything
that could be seen as, you know, a threat to national security.
Wow.
Or even just bad moral character.
So it's not just about staying out of trouble.
No.
In real life.
It's about your online persona, too.
Okay, so what kind of stuff should people be careful about?
It's tough to say because the rules aren't always clear, right? But I think generally be mindful of anything that could be taken the wrong way or, like, taken out of context.
Right.
So things like, you know, extreme views, promoting violence.
Right.
Anything that could be tied to hate groups, like, you got to keep it squeaky clean online.
The margin for error is getting tiny.
Tiny, yeah.
Yeah, you really got to be aware of your digital footprint.
That's good advice for everyone, really.
It is.
Not just people applying for citizenship.
Yeah, in today's world, like, what you post online can have real consequences.
Yeah.
The video also mentions financial records.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, so the thinking is financial stability shows good moral character.
Okay.
And a willingness to, like, contribute to American society.
Okay.
So they're saying they might look more closely...
At what?
At your credit history.
Okay.
Bank statements. Tax returns, you know.
But couldn't that hurt people?
Yeah.
Who maybe had financial problems in the past?
It's a valid concern. Like, what if you've turned things around?
Right.
So it's important to think about the unintended consequences, right? And make sure any policy is fair.
So we've got the tougher test.
Right.
Potential delays. Stricter good moral character.
Yep.
Plus now social media and finances under a microscope.
It's a lot.
It seems like it could get a lot harder
to
become a citizen.
Yeah. So what does that mean for people who are thinking about applying?
Well, the video really stresses
being prepared.
Yeah.
Like, if your case is straightforward, it might be better to apply sooner.
Okay.
Rather than later.
Get ahead of the curve.
Exactly.
But what if it's not straightforward?
Then talking to a lawyer is super important. Right. They can help you figure it all out.
And what about those FOIA requests?
Oh, yeah. Those are crucial.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not sure about your immigration history.
So basically, be proactive.
Yes.
Right.
Don't wait for things to go wrong.
Okay, so we talked about what might change.
Right.
But what can people actually do?
Well, first of all, stay informed.
Okay.
Things are always changing.
Yeah.
So keep up with the news.
Okay.
And look for organizations that focus on immigration rights.
So don't just, scroll through social media and
no.
hope for the best.
Find reliable sources.
Okay, what else?
Talk about it with your friends, family,
Yeah.
your community.
Yeah.
Share what you've learned.
Okay.
Listen to other perspectives and speak up for policies that you believe in.
Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about rules.
No.
It's about people.
It's about people's lives, families, and what kind of country we want to be.
It's a conversation we need to have.
Absolutely.
Okay, before we move on, I want to circle back to this whole idea of good moral character we talked about, like how a future Trump administration might see it. But I think it's important to think about what it means to you.
What does it mean to you?
Yeah, like personally.
Yeah.
Not just the legal definition.
Exactly. So before we wrap up this part, I want you to think about this.
Okay.
What makes a good citizen?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a question worth thinking about.
It is.
Yeah, that's a tough question.
Yeah.
Makes you really think about what we value as a society.
And that's what we got to do.
Yeah.
Especially with something as complicated as immigration.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the headlines, you know.
Right.
The political stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day.
Yeah.
This is about people.
Right.
Real people's lives.
And it's important to remember.
Yeah.
This isn't just about a potential Trump presidency.
No, it's bigger than that.
Yeah, like tougher tests. Longer wait times.
Yeah.
More scrutiny. That's been happening.
It's been a trend.
For a while now.
Yeah, for a while.
It's not like he invented this stuff.
It's been building.
Right.
And it's going to keep evolving.
Yeah, no matter who's in charge.
Exactly.
So where can people go to stay up to date on all this?
Well, I would say start with good news sources.
Okay.
Look for ones that are balanced, you know.
Right.
Fact check their stuff.
Okay.
And offer different perspectives.
Don't just get stuck in an echo chamber.
Exactly.
And what about those organizations that focus on immigration rights?
They're a goldmine of information.
Okay.
They're right there on the front lines.
Yeah, they see it all.
They're working with people affected by these policies.
I think it's also important to hear from
different people.
Different perspectives.
Yeah, like
don't
stay in your bubble.
Yeah.
Read articles.
Yeah.
Listen to podcasts.
Okay.
Talk to people who disagree with you.
Okay, that's tough sometimes.
It is.
But it's how we learn.
It's how we grow.
So we talked about a lot.
We did.
Potential changes.
Yeah.
What it means to have good moral character.
It's a lot to process.
It is. If someone's listening to this, what's the one thing you want them to remember?
Knowledge is power. Okay.
The more you know,
the
better you can navigate this stuff.
Right.
Advocate for change.
Yeah.
Create a better world.
I hope this episode has given everyone the tools,
the knowledge
to stay informed, engaged, and ready to make a difference.
You have a voice.
And remember, whether you're directly affected by this or just care about the future, your voice matters.
Absolutely.
Stay curious, everyone.
Yeah, keep asking questions.
Keep those conversations going.
Don't be afraid to disagree.
And never underestimate the power you have.
Your own power.
To make things better.
To make a difference.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening.
Keep those minds sharp and those hearts open.
We'll see you next time.
Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel US Immigration News. We hope you are doing great. Well, in today's video, we will be talking about Trump's new naturalization policies, key information for immigrants. When forecasting potential changes to the US naturalization process under Donald Trump's future presidency, there are several key areas to consider, largely based on his previous time in office. One of the most significant changes we can expect is a more challenging citizenship test. During his prior presidency, Trump attempted to revise the naturalization test to make it more difficult by adding more questions and increasing its complexity. Although these changes were blocked in court and didn't last long, it is likely that he will attempt to reinstate or further amend the test, making it more challenging for future applicants. Those applying for citizenship under his administration may need to study more truly to ensure they pass an updated, tougher test. Another areas likely to see change is the processing time for naturalization application. Currently, USCIS processes many naturalization applications within 4 to 6 months. However, during Trump's previous presidency, the naturalization process slowed significantly and processing times grew longer due to increased scrutiny and backlogs of cases. This slowdown could return under his administration, making the naturalization process more time-consuming and frustrating for applicants. Individuals hoping for a quick transition to citizenship may face extended waiting period. So it's crucial for applicants to plan ahead, accounting for possible delays. The most significant and impactful change could be the heightened scrutiny of applicants' good moral character during the naturalization process. To become a US citizen, applicant must demonstrate good moral character for at least 5 years before applying, with a shorter 3-year period for those applying through marriage to a US citizen. Typically, applicants must show no criminal history, no overdue taxes, and no outstanding child support payments during this period. However, Trump's administration expanded the criteria for determining good moral character. For example, one surprising speculation was that failure to submit a change of address from AR-11 whenever a person moved could be considered evidence of a bad moral character. Applicants who fail to submit this form, which notifies USCIS of a change of address, could face their citizenship application being denied. This stricter enforcement of compliance with the immigration requirements signals a broader trend towards tighter control over the naturalization process. For those who have clean records and a straightforward application, it may be wise to submit their naturalization application as soon as possible to avoid being affected by these potential changes. There is a chance that new policies may not take effect immediately, but delay an application could result in being caught in the middle of changes. If an applicant's case is more complicated, or if there are concerns about eligibility, consulting with an attorney or requesting a Freedom of Information Act report to check their immigration history is highly recommended. In the worst case, applicants who face a denied naturalization application could find themselves in deportation proceedings. Therefore, acting quickly and being fully informed is critical for anyone seeking US citizenship under the next administration.